Why didn't I see it coming? In this video, we will be discussing the unfortunate truth about suicide, which a lot of my work as a clinical psychologist touches on. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts or even a plan, please call 988. All right, so suicide survivors, those who have had loved ones who have died by suicide, they struggle and they ask themselves this question: why didn't I see it coming? And I get it. We want to know what did we miss? We missed the warning signs that we previously talked about. Is path warm? And I shared that story with you that I missed 80%. I missed 80% of the warning signs that my friend had showed earlier. And so why didn't I see it coming? And here's the answer and the unfortunate truth about suicide. They didn't want you to see it. They wanted to fly under the radar. They weren't shooting up red flares saying, I'm thinking about killing myself, because they were determined and they did not see any other way out. If you don't believe me that this is the case, Google Kevin Hines and listen to his story and how he acted how he usually does the morning before he knew he was going to jump off the Golden State Bridge. He acted the same way. He talked the same way to his parents. He used the same verbiage. He behaved the same exact way. The unfortunate truth about suicide is they didn't want us to see. They wanted to fly under the radar. They wanted to be able to carry out what they thought was the only way out, because they don't feel like they belong. They feel like they are burdening their loved ones, and they've built up a pain tolerance to enact that lethal harm. Now, I know that if any of us had the opportunity, we had either a glimpse, just an inkling that what they were going to do, we would tell them that there's 100 other ways out. I believe this in my soul. But that's not our ability. And so what we need to do, knowing this unfortunate truth about suicide, is we need to go upstream. I love the book that Dan Heath wrote called Upstream. I would highly recommend it. And it talks about all of these problems, social problems that we're having. And we focus way too late in the stream. We focus on it kind of right here and right now. And what we need to do if we truly want to stomp out suicide is we need to go upstream. We need to look at what are the intervention points earlier that got our 49,000 Americans every single year to that point. If we want to be saving lives, we need to go upstream. And this is what I'm saying, is that we need to be creating environments that tackle the 3 predictors of people who die by suicide. We need to be creating families and friends where people feel like they belong, that they feel like they have a purpose and they make contributions. And we need to be teaching them coping skills. These are the 3 things that we need to be doing if we want to go upstream and we want to eradicate suicide. So here are some practical tips to address these 3 things and go upstream. Number 1, all right, we're tackling belongingness. So what I want you to do as a family, what are your values? What are your values? One of ours is personally is independence. We want our children to be doing things independently because we want to be raising adults. And so everything that we are decisions that we are making and things that we are doing as a family, we are doing it to promote their independence. So I don't check their homework. I just make sure that that they've done it, and then it's away, and then they put it away, and all of the things. And so independence is one of our values. So figure out what are your family values, and then that's one of the things that make us us. our family. And so we can have those things that like Matas do this. So one of the things like we always kind of joke about, like we're strong as bulls, strong like, you used to have a phrase, strong like bull. And so like, we are strong, we are resilient, and we would say this out loud. So figure out what those values are and then have those statements, statements associated with those values. So one of my personal values is like putting in everything that you have. And I always say like, you got to give up. And so like, that's my saying, is that like, and when I used to be a professor, I used to struggle with students who didn't give up because I was like, come on, you have to take pride in your work. The second tip with belongingness to get at more friendships, those kind of things, what you can do is you can create a spreadsheet of maybe start small, start with like 15, 20, 30 of the people that you want to have close relationships with. Start a spreadsheet. Put in their name, put in their email address or their phone number, whatever it is, and then start to contact them on a regular basis. And then go into your spreadsheet and say, like, when is the last time that you reached out to them? Put in their birthday, send them cards on their birthday, all of those kind of things, and start communicating with people, letting people know that you belong. You have no idea when that text or when that email or when that card that you send them, what the power it has. It could just save a life. So those are my belonging tips. Burdens. All right, we need families, parents, please allow your children to choose their own majors, to choose their own careers, whatever those things are, because they're choosing things that they are interested in, that they're motivated by, that they are intrigued by, that a lot of the time they're competent. And don't just like boo-hoo them, whatever it is, because chances are they're going to change. Right now, my kids want to be a swirly coloring page designer, a clown, and a CIA agent. Is that going to change by the end of this school year? Absolutely. And I'm okay. And I'm like, okay, like how can we facilitate? How can we cultivate this? You want to be a clown? All right. I think he just wants to be a stand-up comedian, but like, okay, who can we get into his life? Can I bring other comedians? Can we watch comedy shows? Can we get dad joke books? Those kind of things. Cultivate those interests in them and allow them to choose their own majors. I still remember I had she was either a sophomore or a junior. She was a physical therapy major, and she came into my office and she's like, I really love psychology and I wish I could minor in it. And I'm like, you can. And she's like, but I can't. And I'm like, but you can, because you only have to take 3 additional classes. She's like, my parents won't let me. Are you kidding me? Allow your kids to major, to minor in whatever it is they want to do. All right. Second one is we want to focus on contributions. This is going to help with that burdensomeness. We want contributions like, oh, thank you so much for contributing today. And like talking about at the end of the day, like, hey, what contribution did you make today? And it can be a small contribution. It can be a huge contribution. It can be any contribution. Like, hey, I helped out Alex because he was struggling today. Or, oh, I was able to give my friend a pencil, or whatever it is. Those small contributions, have conversations about them, because then we're showing people purpose and we're showing that they add value to other people's lives and that they are not a drain on our resources. All right, third predictor, right? Acquired capacity to enact lethal harm. There we go. Here's the thing, coping skills, especially emotion regulation skills. This is what I want people to know, is that our emotions are signals to something is off in our lives, in our bodies, and they're just kind of giving us like a red light, being like, something is off. That does not mean that we should believe them all of the time. We should become observers, and we should be like, okay, what does this emotion mean? What was I thinking before I started having this emotion? What was I doing before I started having the emotion? What was going on in my environment before I had this emotion? And become much more of an observer. I feel this way. Okay. And explore that, observe it. It doesn't mean you're not your emotions. We need to get out of that. We are not our emotions. We are not our thoughts. They are just thoughts, and they are emotions, and we are us. We need to separate. We need to tease apart that thing. And then the other big key thing with emotion regulation is that those big, intense emotions usually go away in 10 to 20 minutes. And it's our responsibility to not do something stupid in that 10 to 20 minutes that's going to get us in trouble or other people in trouble and cause more heartache in our lives. So you have to be able to ride that emotional wave, go for a walk, be distracted, watch comedy shows, watch cat videos. I don't care what you watch as long as it puts you in a better mood. That's what we're going for. Go for a walk, go gardening, do some exercise, call a friend, whatever it is, just observe, journaling. Oh my goodness, journaling. Observe those emotions. Don't act on them. And then the last thing we want to be doing is we want to be focusing on behaviors and not emotions. Because I just told you, emotions lie. They can lie, but they're telling us something. We don't have to act on them. And so ride out that wave for 10 to 20 minutes and then start to think, okay, now that I'm emotionally much more calmer, what do I need to be doing? What behavior will put me in a better state? How can I be contributing? What are those behaviors that are move me forward towards my goals? And so those are the things that we want to be focusing in on. We want to be going upstream because of the unfortunate truth of suicide is that the reason why we didn't see it coming is they didn't want us to. And as soon as we can accept that and we can start moving upstream by creating families that are loving, that are value-based, that we're checking in on our loved ones, that we are allowing our kids to choose their careers and cultivating that as much as we possibly can, and that we're focusing on contributions, we're regulating our emotions, and we're focusing on behaviors. This is how we're going to stomp out suicide. This is how we're going to be throat punching the Gen Z mental health crisis.